You say you're fine, but I can see right through. You're holding your secrets for way too long. This can't keep going on. With every lie, they keep on hurting you, getting away with everything they do. This can't keep going on. No, we're gonna find them, and I'm gonna fight for you. They better start hiding. We'll be running with the lions, lions. We'll be running with the lions, lions. They can't run, they can't hide. We won't stop until they're down. We'll be running with the lions, lions.
Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of Gloves Off. I'm your host, Dr. Kalpana Sundar, and I can't tell you how excited I am for today's interview. And well, I'm always excited for all the interviews. I'm not going to lie, because I really have the real fortune of interviewing the most amazing people. And our guest today, Jessica Conti, she was so excited about this that she was really ready yesterday. So that's how excited people are to be on this show. Well, the reality is that she was so busy that she got her days mixed up, which often happens to people when you are really working on a lot of things all at the same time. And Jessica is one of these people that I met her about 6 months ago, and she's a powerhouse. She's a multi-sector entrepreneur. She is a leadership visionary. She is a co-founder of something called Beyond the Hustle, which we're going to deep dive and talk about. And she is a partner in Legacy Capital. So with all of this, you almost are wondering, does this woman even have time to sleep? Breathe? No wonder she got the days mixed up, right? But the reality is, I think she and I share a lot of the same philosophies. I mean, you love what you do. It kind of doesn't feel like work, but that doesn't mean that we don't need a break, right? So anyway, we're going to deep dive into that conversation in just a bit, but I wanted to just tease you with a little bit of that. But before we start our episode and our conversation, I always want to thank our sponsors. The first sponsor is Business Done Better. They are your go-to if you have a business, you don't want employees. Might be something you want to consider, because they have helped me automate so much in my business to the point where things are just easy and effortless. I have this rule. If I do something manually more than once, I figure out a way to automate it. So that's how I effectively use my time as well. So if that's something that has been happening to you, you feel like you're really doing a lot of things manually and belaboring issues over and over again, something you may want to consider, Business Done Better. They have a CRM system. I can do my social media posts with everything that within the CRM. I love it because it's my go-to hub for getting everything done business related. I don't have to worry about where everything is. So it's been amazing. And then also to introduce our second sponsor, it is tax season right now, about to, it's that time of year. So if you decided that doing your taxes is not really fun and you are a small business owner or a big business owner, whatever the case is, and well, I hope you have an accountant, but if you don't, or if you're not happy with your accountant, you may want to consider Elevated CPA. All right, welcome back. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier, one of my favorite things about Jessica, before we actually get her on here today to join us for the show, is that she is a car enthusiast like me. So naturally, we just hit it off. We both love business. We both love cars. So she's just a really super cool human being. So I think we just need to get her on here and have a conversation. So Jessica will be on shortly. Well, hello, Jessica. Welcome to Gloves Off. I had to put that animated thing on there just to really, hype up our interview.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Kalpana, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here with you, and I'm really looking forward to our chat today.
Oh, yes, I am too. I am too. I think
Yeah.
first I want to start with where you are right now because I think it's just really fun and it
Okay.
also gives people a different idea of how life and business could really work together. So let's just start with that because that's just a fun
Yes, indeed. Oh, I loved that you shared that fun fact about us, that we share, that in common about being car enthusiasts. Certainly, it's rare to find a woman, to have that chat with. But I like to use the analogy full throttle, right? And that it feels like a great adjective for my life sometimes with multiple businesses and we're always on the go. So, because we're traveling a lot and oftentimes on the road, I have use of a Mercedes Benz Sprinter coach. It's like an executive vehicle and my mobile office. And that's where I'm at, in my mobile office.
I
And it's very productive, actually. You've seen it, you were in it before. I can be, on my way to, Huntington Beach. I was just last week for a meeting, and I got 4 hours of work done on the road by just using it while we're driving. So that's where I am right now.
I think that is so fantastic. So again, folks, she's a car enthusiast. Of course, she's going to find a way to work a very cool car into her life. I mean, I think it's pretty genius, really.
Well, something even cooler about it is that I rent it out as additional income. So
Mm.
business hat on, right? And make sure that, I'm making use of the asset. And so when I'm not using it, it's for rent.
That is so fabulous. Again, we can really get some good pointers here for you, Jessica. We don't just make that purchase and have it as a liability. We turn it into a business that starts to bring us revenue. So that's really a smart way to go. So
Exactly.
we have so many things to talk about. I mean, I feel like we could do a 3 hour interview, but we're going to have to condense it into 56 minutes. So, but one of the big things I want to ask you is, well, first of all, let's start with the little funny anecdote. You were ready for the show yesterday.
Believe
and
that happened.
and folks out there, she literally had me wondering what day it was. I was like, what, whoa, did I forget about the show? It really freaked me out.
Well, let's talk about that. I think that would be a great place to start unpack because we're having a conversation around, leadership and, beyond the hustle and kind of how we blend all of this, work and business life together and still, lead with our full hearts. uh this is life, right? We are in the hustle, and in our generation things are very fast, especially in a lot of cases. Like in mine, you might have multiple ventures or enterprises that fill up your life, including you know travel, and then you have family and your social life on top of things. So life can be pretty full throttle, right? And I got stuck in that this weekend. I was not taking as much time out for myself as I should. That's another topic we can talk into.
Mhm.
And I had about 3 straight days of a lot of activity. And on top of that, my brother, who's visiting from Pennsylvania, he's traveled across the country and I haven't seen him in a while. He's visiting with us right now. He's actually moving up to California eventually, but he's also in our home and I'm entertaining, right? And so it's always on my mind to like get some family time in. And it was a really busy day. So I thought it was Sunday. I really did. I woke up just going full throttle, thinking it was Sunday. And I'm literally like on you know, the site right where we are now, waiting for you, wondering, gee, is she ever going to show up? Ah, and I'm so glad you called me back and reminded me of the day.
Yes, yes.
So,
When I saw your text, and I thought, wait a minute, I had to check myself first and make sure I didn't miss the day. But
yeah, so here's the learning around that. And I think, for those of you on the other side of the camera here with us and watching this, I'm not the only one. I'm sure this has happened too. And that was a rare occasion. So just, make want to make the statement that doesn't happen often to me. So I'm not, so busy that I'm missing appointments. But
oh,
life
you didn't
happens.
miss it. You were just early. You're just very productive. You're just a day early. But
Well,
listen, we're all human, right? I think that's the important take home message, that it doesn't matter how highly productive we are, how efficient we are. At the end of the day, we are human beings. And as human beings, we do things like this. And I think this is an important lesson in having grace and patience with ourselves.
I love that. I love that you said that, grace, patience, certainly to be comfortable being vulnerable, right? We were laughing about it yesterday. And that creates a lot of depth to our relationship and trust when you can just be that person, and instead of, blaming my assistant or blaming someone else of why this wasn't on my calendar. I was very vulnerable with that. But here's the learning that was for me, is that because my schedule is so full and I do have a lot of systems in place, I have multiple calendars because of the multiple businesses,
Mhm.
and so they're shared. But I have a team and assistants that help organize our calendars, and I don't have them on weekends. And because this is a weekend show and yesterday was a weekend, I
Mhm.
I learned and understood that maybe I should have them organize some of our weekend appointments and calendars as well, right?
Ah.
And it's really important for us as entrepreneurs and business owners to make sure that we have systems and processes in place to keep us efficient and, on track to not just be in appointments like this,
Mhm.
but also to carve out the important times in our life that we need to take care of ourselves and have, all the fun and adventure that we want to throw in there too,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. And life is challenging, because I think when we are highly productive human beings, it becomes, it's not even that we want to say no to these things, because there are things, really, it gets to a point in life where I have to say that I feel very blessed to be in that space as well, that I don't want to say no to a lot of things, but then I have to remember that I have to start saying no to things, because I understand one very true fact about me, and that may not be for everybody, but I do need a certain amount of alone time and quiet time to think. When I don't get that, because I haven't really had a lot of that over the past couple of months, or not as much as I've needed, let's say, just because I've been traveling a lot as well and been involved in multiple different things. But I do notice that things shift for me, and not necessarily in the best of ways. So I have made it a point to safeguard against some extra buffer time. So we all do it, even though I am the one often teaching people about self-care, and I'm the one who's doing that. And yet sometimes I forget about it, even with myself. It happens.
Yes. Now, self-care, you're spot on. That's kind of one of the reasons why I was so passionate about uh, creating a community of women like us,
Mhm.
because I notice women at the top and women in leadership. That is like one of the things that isn't really a priority as much anymore. And it's the most important, because when we take care of ourselves, right, we can be better leaders. We can take care of our families. We can be better, spouses and girlfriends. And uh, it's, it's everything. It's absolutely everything. Um, but, and it is the first thing that should be scheduled, in your week. No, don't just make it a priority, but also make it a part of your schedule and, of your day, like it's an appointment that you have to keep.
I love that you said that, because that's how I treat it as well. But do your assistants actually schedule it like that for you?
So it's funny you said that, because I do have a schedule in the morning. You'll notice I never make appointments early in the morning because I have that me time. And also,
Oh,
I enjoy my sleep. I'm starting to value a lot more that sleep is very important. But yes, it's in the calendar. If you wanted to see it on the phone, I can pull it up every morning. It's like blocked
perfect.
off.
Perfect.
And yeah, and I have to acknowledge you too, Kalpana, because you have a wonderful example of having boundaries and protecting your time. Just the other day, I invited you to something, and you're like, I love that invitation, but it's just, I have this, priority and principle, and I'm staying focused, and that really was, I respect that so much, and not many people do that. And so, yeah, you're the one of amazing examples of how important it is to prioritize and have those boundaries in place so you're not taking on everything, right?
Yes. It's
There's no need to.
I think that reflects on what I said before. It really, I'm so grateful and feel so blessed that I get invited to so many great things. And like I said, I don't want to say no. And what happens is that once I've said yes to everything, I'm just running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And then the priorities that I know are my priorities are not being met. And for me, self care and my physical fitness and emotional and mental well being are number one. They are number one. I also have a morning routine where I, wake up, I do yoga, I meditate, and I start my morning with that. Then I start with my work. But my physical fitness routine is pretty rigorous and it is marked into the calendar weeks ahead of time. Sometimes I have to change something, of course, but I make sure that I have my weight training, I have my martial arts training, and I have all those things. And those are later in the day, usually. They're not that early. So I manage my calendar like that, where all those things are put in first and then the rest of the things are put in later. And I really do think that's the right way to do it so that we can focus on self care.
Yes. And the more and more successful that one person is, you'll see that the more and more strict and valuable that time is, for their morning routines. And, you know, it's almost like that's the only thing that happens first thing before they start their day is
Exactly.
that space and that time. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I want to talk I mean, Beyond the Hustle is just such a great philosophy for me because that's, I'm always helping people get out of the hustle in a different way. So, and I think it's a really important concept because I wrote about this in my book, Beauty Unbound, that women have a certain set of extra parameters on their lives that, and I'm not bashing men, I always get accused of that. That's not the point. It's just that we are, unfortunately, by nature, expected, I feel, by society to ignore ourselves, ignore what we need, put ourselves last. That's how I was raised. I mean, that was what I thought I was supposed to do. And that's frankly what I did for the majority of my life until I got significantly burnt out, depressed, and all these terrible things happened to me. And then I shifted it. My self care is number one. I come first now. And it has shifted the trajectory of my life. It has shifted the trajectory of my success and all the things around me, really, the quality, the value of my relationships. So I think because of that, a lot of women do get stuck in that phase. Either they get stuck there for a long time or they get stuck there for a little while, realize something different. So tell me how you help women, get beyond the hustle and, enjoy their life in a different way and help them find help them find this amazing sisterhood to be a part of.
Yes, yes. Well, it really was a product of creating something that I was looking for myself. And I noticed that being in my professional community, and I, had a lot of relationships with female leaders and business owners. And it was a common thread that I seen so much energy go forth. And many times when we're in our professional circles, we're wearing this like version of ourselves out front, right? I call it the mask of perfection, which is necessary at times, right? You need to present yourself well. And yes,
Mhm.
however, very few times does that ever come off. And you get to just, exhale and breathe and have a relationship, with women. I call a sisterhood of high achieving women, where those relationships can go so deep, be so real and comforting and safe. Um, and as a matter of fact, this is so rare because I was studying this over the last year or so, and there was a study done by a university. Forgive me, it's escaping me at this moment which one, but maybe I can find it. I'll put it in the comments when we post this video.
Mhm.
And they did a study on women that had a sisterhood, right, of other women like them. And these are women that are entrepreneurs and business leaders, influencers. And when they have those deeper connections with other women like them, the study showed that there was a reduction in cortisol, there was less stress, and these women experienced less stress in their lives and their businesses because of that community, that circle that they have in their lives. And so I was recognizing what I was feeling, like that alone at the top feeling, and the relationships I had were not so deep. It's because we didn't have the place to have that nurtured and happen. Like we
Mhm.
might be in a networking event, right? Or, women on stage, or you're, at a, some other kind of event or a mixer, and the interactions that you have together, it's not the space to do that. The
Mm.
space has to be created where you can have that connection and that place that's so safe where we can take that mask of perfection off,
Mhm.
be right, just be ourselves, be real. Like we always say to the women that come to our Beyond the Hustle retreats, like leave the influencer you at the door, leave the boss of you at the door, and all of those accolades and titles, like leave that at the door and come
Mhm.
into this space together, as you.
Mhm.
And when we do that, there's like a magic that happens. And I realized we couldn't find it anywhere else. And so that was the inspiration, first of all, to create Beyond the Hustle, is to create this community of women that know knows what it takes, right, to get to where you are, right? Because they've all done it.
Yeah.
And that's rare and very special to have, so for starters, that was
I think
what
it's
initiated
amazing.
us.
How many
Yes.
retreats have you done so far?
Well, we have done three so far, and we have one
Okay.
more coming up in June to be our fourth.
Wonderful.
And this is kind of like the organic part of how it happened. Is I was having breakfast, with my dear friend and my co-founder of Beyond the Hustle, one morning around the holidays, and sharing exactly how I felt with, all the pressures of life and feeling like I had this weight of the world on me,
Mhm.
and recognizing that all the other women in my social circles and professional circles felt the same way.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to just get us together and, have just this, this amazing experience where we get to just unplug a little bit and form a deep relationship and a connection and learn from each other. It
Mhm.
was just like women crave connection, right? Don't you
Yes.
agree? Like
Yes.
women just crave connection, and take that mask of perfection off. And then my business partner now, then my close friend, Carrie Dabadino, she goes, you know what we should do? Let's curate that experience and add the fun and adventure to the retreat. And so the marrying of those two experiences is what we became of our idea for Beyond the Hustle.
I
And
love it.
so we then very carefully curated and planned out, our first retreat to have the experience of everything that we were craving ourselves. It was the deep connection, right, with women like us. It was also a place to just fill our cups back up, right? So we have,
Mhm.
wonderful days planned where we're like just in that healing mode, and we're in nature, we're together having conversation. We're in a circle, and allowing each woman to be seen and
Mm.
heard, and just what naturally comes about there, just it really fills your cup up. It really does.
That's amazing.
And then we add the adventure. And
So
it's
what
my
are the
favorite part.
adventures you've had in the past? I don't know if you're able to say what's coming up or are
No, right, because this is a surprise. So my favorite
yeah.
part about this is we intentionally save the retreats to be the adventure be a surprise at the
Mm.
retreat. So the women get a packing list so they know what to pack. They are prepared, right?
Oh,
You
perfect.
and I, we know as
I would
women, we
need
like
to
to be
know what shoes
prepared.
to bring.
Gotta be prepared. And we tell you where to fly into. So obviously you're going to know, where to book your flights or drive to if you're local.
Okay.
And that's it, because the element of surprise is missing from our lives too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to feel alive and, have that spontaneous adventure spirit that we used to have as children.
Right.
And I
That's
see that in
amazing.
you too a little bit, Kalpana. I know you have that adventure side to
Oh,
you.
definitely, definitely, definitely. But, oh, because we never talked. I didn't even mention about how you love riding motorcycles too. So, yes, I definitely had the adventure spirit. So I think
Yes.
you've done whitewater rafting one time.
Well, actually, Carrie, my business partner, Carrie, she has done adventure retreats prior to us coming together for Beyond the
Oh, that's
Hustle.
perfect.
And yeah, they were very different, but the adventure, she did do that. Our adventures, one adventure, we surprised the ladies by driving up to Los Angeles because we had a retreat at a resort down in San Diego area.
Okay.
And when we got there, we surprised them with a day racing Porsches.
Oh, I remember. I think I read about that in your book or something, and so
Yes.
somewhere, or maybe you told me. I don't remember, but that would have been awesome. I'd have been
Oh,
definitely
yes,
all
it
about
was
that.
amazing. And just to see, like, the look on all their faces, like, this is like bucket list things, right? It's not
Right.
like there's a driver, an instructor in the car with you. Like, you're in the car by yourself, and being, taught all these skillful driving techniques and out there going 120 miles an hour and going through road courses and spinning out. And it was, outside your comfort zone for sure.
Hmm.
But it's just an amazing lifelong experience, like a memory that you'll have, forever.
Hmm.
And that's another thing that's important to create memories.
Hmm.
And when you can have those experiences that are surprise adventures
Yeah.
outside your comfort zone with your sisterhood, with the women that you've grown to, have these, deep connections with, and, you just know that you're uplifting each other and you're there holding space for each other. It's really a life changer
Oh,
because,
absolutely.
yeah,
Well, let's
life
just talk
changer.
about our comfort zone. We get wired to keep ourselves safe. And then a lot of us, as we get older and become, more into approach our adulthood in a different way, we've just gotten to a point where we stop seeking that sense of adventure. We're kind of
Yeah.
wired to stay comfortable and just be, it just happens to all of us. So unless we force ourselves out of our comfort zone. And I have to say, I think some people have a natural tendency to want to be in their comfort zone. I think I have a natural tendency to keep myself uncomfortable. I don't know
Yeah.
why I do this to myself, but I think this is the way I operate. I've learned this about myself since for the past several years, the past 10 years of my life. I purposely have made myself uncomfortable as I could make myself. But not everybody does that. I think I'm a little different in that way, but some of us just need a little that camaraderie, just somebody else to do it with.
Yes. Well, it's human nature, right?
Yeah.
As humans, right, we're designed to keep ourselves safe,
Mhm. The
right?
reptilian brain.
And and in life and business too, we get
Mhm.
into that mode like, oh, gotta play safe. Let's not risk anything, or let's,
Right.
not do anything, outside our comfort zone too much.
Mhm.
But that's a dangerous place to be, because when you're not outside your comfort zone, you're not growing,
Mm-mm.
right? And what do they say? In anything in our lives, if you're, in a growth mindset and you want to expand and continue to grow in your life or business, you have to step outside your comfort zone. The only
Absolutely.
way.
Is the only
And
way.
so these adventures, they mirror that. One of our adventures was this year in January, and we surprised the ladies with a trip to Catalina Island. Now, for those of
Oh,
you who don't know, on the West Coast, Catalina Island is about 30 miles off the coast of Long Beach in California.
Hmm.
And when we got there, the ladies are in a parking lot saying, okay, great. We know it's an island. How are we getting there? And
Yeah.
we surprised them and announced that we're getting there on jet skis.
Oh, so it was a 30-mile jet ski ride?
Yes. And and so we of course, being responsible, we had plan B in case any of the women did not want to opt into that.
Hmm.
Right. We knew there were helicopter rides back and forth. I had, drivers prepared. So we had plan B in case any ladies decided to opt out. But this is what happens when you're together and around a sisterhood of other powerful women, is that we all saw all the other women looking at each other. Some of them were all for it, and some were, just kind of feeling it out, seeing who was going to opt out, who was going to go. And because all of the other women that wanted to go were like, yes, let's do it, the ones that were a little uncomfortable felt more comfortable,
Mm.
right? You had that other, you know, uh, woman right there next to you and giving you that demonstration of, you got this, you can do this. And I was just beyond words. I knew that they had stepped into that best version of themselves because they had that comfort to go way outside their comfort zone,
I
and,
love it.
and go
That's
for it.
awesome. That is so awesome.
Yes.
So how long did it take most people to do the 30
Yeah.
miles?
Well, it was a little choppy getting there, smoother on the way
Yeah.
back, but about an hour and a half to 2 hours because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
30 miles, one way.
Yeah.
And very empowering, very
Mhm.
empowering. After the day, because we went there, we had lunch, got dry, and then got back on the jet skis to head back to the mainland. And we're going 45, 50 miles an hour in some stretches, across the ocean, 6,000
Wow.
feet deep ocean, great white sharks. Like it was, pretty stretchy.
Yeah.
But when we did debriefing after that adventure, uh, all of us came, including myself, came to the realization that, yeah, one is most of us probably wouldn't have not done that
Right.
unless we were around other women doing it,
Mhm.
right? That's
Mhm.
the power of sisterhood. We lift each other up.
Mhm.
But the mirror was to what happens in our lives and how we show up in our lives and our businesses,
Right.
right? And often in times in business, it's not just stepping outside your comfort zone. It's taking risk. It's
Mhm.
doing things you don't want to do. Um, and that was a mirror, because if we can do that, then what else can we do
Mhm.
in our lives and in our businesses, right? And so that experience, all the ladies, including myself, going home after the end of that retreat, we stepped into our lives more fully. We were not just our cups full, right? And then the fun adventure, just, the memories that were last lifetime, the friendships that were bonded. But we stepped into back into our businesses and
Mhm.
we rocked, right? Some of the women's businesses are just like skyrocketing. It's just, you become a better version of yourself.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
is amazing because it is so empowering to just battle the elements and go out there and be brave and just do it. I just think that's amazing. And I could just imagine the look on these women's faces like, we're going to do what? I would have been like, how fast do
Exactly.
those jet skis go? Because and the chop makes it hard. I had jet skis in Florida, and I used to love them because they were topped out at 70 miles an hour. But obviously, you can't do 70 miles an hour with chop in the ocean. That's if
Yes.
it's glass, you can go 70 miles an hour, which is amazing. Which was so fun. But I mean, this sounds fabulous. And really, that's the thing. And women who are just high achievers, I think also we can lose that sense of fun. You may do the normal fun things, meet up with your friends, blah, blah, blah. Those are fun things, of course, but that sense of adventure is crucial. I really do think it's very important for all women to have a sense of adventure and really put themselves outside of the comfort zone, even if it seems a little scary at first.
Yeah, it is. It's scary at first, but it's very important. And life is short, right? We all say this to each other. Life is short. Why are you here? Why would you even, do the things you do and drive your businesses and your life to where you want them to go when you can't pause and be present and enjoy it along the way.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
what do you think is your biggest motivator for, I mean, I feel like the audience might be wondering, what is your motivator for doing all these different things?
Yeah. Number one motivator is seeing the change in women's lives,
Mm.
because I am also speaking for myself. I see the weight, that we carry. I
Mm.
see the challenges, and just, there's just always like this full throttle, life that we live, right? So many things going on and juggling. Um, I see that there's something that's not met, and I get the biggest thrill. It lights me up when women are just free energized, when they're just able to exhale, be, and have those friendships and relationships that just fuel them, and also see them step into a more stunning version of themselves.
Mm.
I'll tell you a short story that happened last year at one of our retreats. One of the women that was there, and this is someone that's very well known. If I were to mention her name,
Mhm.
she's very successful, and um, I'm pretty sure that she didn't expect to experience what she did when she came to the retreat, right? The
Mhm.
surprise experience of the adventure. But after the retreat, she came actually to Carrie first and shared from her heart that that experience of the retreat didn't just change her life, but it changed who she was as a person.
Oh, I just got
And that's
chills.
why, that's why, that's why we do what we do. Is if that can happen just from 3 days of experience with other women, right? To just have them be able to step into that more stunning version of themselves, say their life changed, that gives me all the drive. And it does it for me. It does it for all the other ladies that are part of our community or come to the retreats. And it's probably my biggest passion these days is to see that happen throughout the world.
That's really cool because it does. I really can see how an adventure like this can change who you are as a person. Anytime you go out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there, and when you do something that you may not have believed that you could do, it eliminates one more limiting belief out of your little limiting belief folder that we have up there in our heads, right? We just rip another
Yeah.
page out and go throw that out and burn it up because it doesn't exist anymore. That's how I like to think of limiting beliefs. Like, let's just pull that page out and throw it away, burn it up. So that is amazing. I can imagine the transformation is pretty huge. And then one of the other things is that you also have businesses. I think that you, from what I understand, there's some things that you do on your own with other people, and then you also have businesses that you work on with your husband,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah. I've been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades,
Hmm.
and a majority of the ventures and businesses that, I've led and co-founded were with my husband and business partner. So I think collectively we've founded over 14 companies. Right now we have four primary businesses
Hmm.
that we run, and of course, we have big teams, and
Right.
we have other individuals in leadership roles. So it's not like we're at the helm of every single one every single day, but it is certainly a passion of ours, to you know grow companies and make positive impact in the world. And it's actually a joy for me to do that with my husband as well.
Which is so great because a lot of people don't feel that way. A lot of people wouldn't ever work with their spouse. But I also think For me, it seems different being entrepreneurs, where you set your own rules and get to pick and choose what you want to do rather than working at a job with your spouse. Now that I couldn't do, but I could do an entrepreneurship. I could do that, but I couldn't do a job working with my spouse or my partner. I can say that there's a real difference between the two. And how do you guys carve out time for each other and with your
Yeah.
family? How do you
Well, that's
manage?
very important.
Yeah.
You know, eh, we do struggle with it a little bit
Mhm.
because we do have, such a full, plate right now, and it's just the season we're in. We certainly plan on exiting out of two of our companies in the next few years, so that'll give us space. So,
Mhm.
um, uh, we do it when we can. As a matter of fact, we're going to be doing it tonight after our show. The reason why
Perfect.
I'm in my mobile office is because the family's having some family time, and after that, we're going to have a date night. So,
Perfect.
if you're
Perfect.
listening, Jerry, we are going to have a date night tonight.
Yeah. Gary, you
So
better be listening.
it's so important. And, I think that maybe that's something we can land on for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming a lot of your listeners might have business, relationships with their spouses. It's very common these days.
Mhm.
And I am one that is unapologetically always sharing that I'm the woman beside the man because we have such a powerful dynamic. When we do business together, we know each other's roles, which is very important.
Mhm.
But the key takeaway for that is when you're in business with your spouse to make sure that you have this understanding of roles and responsibilities, just like you would, in any other relationship, and stay in your lane and never let resentment build up ever. And it's hard to do when you're in marriages, but especially when you're in business together,
Mhm.
because that is kind of like it's a very dangerous place to be as well. Is like when you have all these
Right.
resentments building up, like because you don't agree with what he did or she did,
Mhm.
and that can really take down a lot of progress, in your
Mhm.
company when you have that dynamic. You can't let that
Absolutely.
happen.
Oh, I would agree very much.
Yeah.
And
And we have worked through that, had a lot of tools that we've learned how to communicate when we would sense one of those resentments coming up. We would come to the other person and share it, and make sure that, it's just spoken and heard and let it dissolve. Like don't let it build up until, you have this like also on this layer, like an onion of, all these resentments over time. And then all of a sudden now, you're just bickering all the time.
Mhm.
Uh, can't let that happen. But we've been very, very, very blessed with, kind of learning how to work together as a
Mhm.
team and, as partners and not allow that to, affect any other part of our lives.
Yeah, it's not easy, and it's not a balance that's easy to strike
No.
because I feel a lot of people would feel maybe hesitant to bring something like this up to their spouse or their partner. And for I say for those people who may feel hesitant, maybe there's a weekly check-in, that it's on the schedule. We check in and see if there's anything that, we want to discuss so that it doesn't have
Uh-huh.
to because some people feel very afraid to bring those things up in a relationship. I've heard of that happening. And some people are very outspoken, other people are not. So
Yeah.
but I do think it's very important to air those concerns and not let them brew or fester and really just address them head on. And frankly, for some people like me, I don't know that I could be with somebody who wants to work at a job. I don't that would never work for me because what I found through my dating and journey is that is a completely different mindset. And it's so different from mine that I don't think I can. I mean, I can't. I mean, it just doesn't work because I think so differently. So for me, I have to be with somebody who's very entrepreneurial because part of my joy in that relationship, other than the other things, but to me, an added joy in a relationship and a partnership is the ability to discuss my entrepreneurial ideas and to hear about theirs. With that missing element, I have to tell you, for me, a relationship falls flat, which is an interesting thing that I think I just discovered.
You're spot on with that. And us entrepreneurs, sometimes we just always got work on our brain. And if your spouse or your significant other, is, just like, not, as driven and, motivated and you know, eager for you to, take your lives to where you are to the next level and just be complacent. Sometimes that employee mindset and lifestyle is contradictory to the entrepreneur lifestyle and mindset,
Exactly.
and they just don't go together very, very
No, they
differently.
don't. They
Yeah.
don't. And I mean, maybe I'm not saying that it can't work. I just think we have to really look at ourselves in a very close way to know who we are, to see if it could work for us. I mean, I really, really thought it could work. And I tried it multiple times and I just felt that there was a real disconnect because, again, it was such a large part of me. I never even talked about my entrepreneurial ideas, and I like talking about those. So I need someone who's going to be
You got
listening
some good ones.
and who's a
Yeah.
sounding board for me. I need that in a relationship and a
Yeah.
partnership. So anyway, everybody's different, but I just thought it was important to acknowledge that even though it might sound crazy to other people that you and Jerry work together, I don't think it sounds that crazy. I've watched the two of you together, and listen, work is a part. Your combined desire to serve the world is a very large part of, I think, your dynamic. That's just what I have observed. But I don't think that it takes away from the personal dynamic. From what I've seen, I felt that it adds to it, and I think that may be a nuanced little factoid that maybe people wouldn't understand unless they'd maybe seen it in action. If that, that's the best way I can think of to say that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we just love it. We are so aligned, with our vision, and we have this great balance and dynamic. I often share this with, other women entrepreneurs, and also, men who are here with us today, I'm sure are listening. And you should, men, because you're learning a lot about women if you're working with women.
Yeah.
We do things different sometimes, but there's something powerful when you can lean into your feminine leadership, right? Your feminine energy in the business ecosystem,
Mhm.
because that's how we work so well together. My husband's a driver. He's the visionary. He's the running horse, right? He's
Mhm.
he's like, certainly leading the teams,
Mhm.
the idea person.
Mhm.
And I am the one that grounds us. I
Yes.
am the one that holds the container, right? I am the one that, kind of keeps all this like hurricane moving things all kind of in order, and have, framework and structure and peace and harmony, in the business. And also when I step into meetings, I notice that feminine presence
Mhm.
is so powerful, because when you think about it, the feminine uh, energy in leaders, and
Mhm.
men have feminine energy too, right?
Of course.
Male, female is different. Feminine energy, male energy, like we all have a little bit of both. But when you can lean into that feminine energy in your leadership style and at work, that's where you tap into your empathy, with
Mhm.
your intuition, with your compassion, with your ability to connect with your teammates or your partners, right, or your clients.
Right.
That's feminine energy in leadership. And
Yes.
so that balance, we bring naturally into our workplaces,
Right.
not just in our relationships. And so when you have that with your spouse and your partner, or if you're working just within opposite sex, you'll see that dynamic difference and how powerful it is to have both of those in
Mhm.
any enterprise.
And
So we do enjoy that.
it's so true, and I'm
But
glad you brought up that very important point because a lot of times, and I've given talks about this actually. I've actually recently gave a talk about this very thing in Europe and all over because I love talking about feminine leadership. A lot of times, women in their leadership roles will often mimic leadership by males. and it's not authentic to them. It's easy to sense that it's disingenuous, and you cannot effectively lead a team when you are starting with some disingenuous version of yourself. So that's one big thing that I'm often talking about, is for women to really lean into their femininity, into their feminine leadership. It's not a weakness, it's a strength. We've just been conditioned to think it's a weakness, unfortunately, for way too long, but it's not.
Yeah, it's the biggest strength you can have. And, just to add to that, because you're also making a really good point here, is when we are very strongly into our masculine, and sometimes we do, right? There's
Mhm.
always a version of yourself that's, going to be appropriate to put out in certain situations. But you're there too long, you get burnt out quicker. I'll
Mhm.
see it over and over again. Women
Yes.
that just have that strength, and we do have strength naturally, but the male energy strength, they lead too much into that masculine. I see them burning out quicker than ever. And, that's just not healthy. That's not healthy for your business. It's not healthy for your life, for your health, for people around you, your family. It's something that I've been working on, too, in my last 5 years, is intentionally making sure that I don't fall into that trap of burnout, and
Mhm.
doing all the things that I know how, right? The fun adventure, the sisterhood, the time for me, the balance. I don't even call it balance. I call it orchestrating your life, but
Mhm.
incorporating that so there isn't that burnout.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that when we talk about these masculine and feminine energies, a masculine energy is that bust down the door, go get it type of energy, like boom, like we're going to go get it. Where feminine is more of a receiving energy, like we're magnetizing, we're getting the things to come to us, and then we sift through the opportunities. And I frankly have done it both ways. I was definitely in my masculine energy in my ear, nose, and throat practice and my med spas and all that, where I was beating down doors and finding opportunities. Now I'm the business that I'm building is really has been created with all feminine energy. The things just come to me. I evaluate the opportunity to see if they're right for me, see if they're not right for me, and move forward. It's a heck of a lot easier, I have to say.
Yes.
Way easier.
You're like a magnet,
I Well, I
attracting.
just see what's right for me. It shows up. Is it right for me? Is it not? But it's a lot easier than going to look for everything. And it's a lot easier. I feel more peaceful. I have more time. I know, I joke because I tell people I do not want to build another soul sucking monster. I did that already. It was a very lucrative soul sucking monster, but it was a soul sucking monster. And I don't want to do that again. So I think that's where my boundaries come into play, because I know how much I can focus on, and I know what's in alignment with my goals for the next quarter or the next year, whatever those things are, and I am laser focused on those goals. And I don't
Yes.
let a lot other things permeate it until I'm done with those goals, and then I can add or subtract, or that's how I operate, and it seems to work for me very well. So and so your I have your website over there. Are there any last minute things you'd like to share with our audience? I know that you have another Beyond the Hustle retreat coming up, but I don't know if there's spots there. So where can they
Yes.
find the
Yes.
information?
Well, this is the turn of our 1 year anniversary coming up in June. And so
Mm,
June 2nd through June 4th, it's in Southern California again, in the
okay.
San Diego area. And we had added one very special day to our retreat. The day before retreat, we're having a 1 day Beyond the Hustle, I would say a business conference. And we
Mm,
are going to be launching and sharing invitations for that actually this week. And so you
terrific.
have my website. I'll make sure if people want to type in a contact and shoot me over a little message that they like the information. I'll make sure they get a direct personal invitation for that. So we're going to have 1 day of hustle, following by the 3 days of our next Beyond the Hustle retreat. And that retreat is a surprise. I cannot share what that is, but it's going to be, cocktail reception and celebration and sisterhood, and a day to exhale and fill your cup back up, and a lot of deep connection and processes that we go through together, nature, and then a really outstanding bucket list adventure. And
I
so,
love it.
yes, the spots are open. Now it's a private retreat, and so it's by invitation or application only.
Okay.
But certainly, if women are intrigued and would like to learn about it, they can contact me right through my website. I'll hand them the information personally.
Oh, I love that. Well, everybody, you have the information down there. So it's jessicamconti.com. Check it out if you're interested in that retreat. I'm going to make it to one of the retreats at some point. June is, I'm moving. So it's not going to happen in June, but hopefully the next one after that, because that sounds like just right up my alley. So thank
Yes,
you, Jessica, for sharing all those important messages and the heartfelt, really, you got deep and really told people what it's really like. You didn't say it was perfect, because it's not, but how you make it work, because that's really at the end of the day what we have to do. So thank you for sharing all of that with us, and thank you so much for joining us on the show today, and I hope you have a fabulous date night tonight with Jerry.
thank you so much, Kalpana. It's just been an honor. I'm just grateful to have this time with you today. And
Oh, me
thank you.
too. Me too. I'm so excited to have you. And then, we might have to have you back, because I think that you're always up to new and fun stuff. So we'll have to have you back maybe next year and see what you're up to.
I'd be an honor. Thank you.
Have a great night. Thanks so much.
Have a
Bye.
miracle day. Bye.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. She's just absolutely a lovely human being. So I'm just so grateful to have met her. And again, check out that retreat, because I have to say, I wish I could go, but I hope to make it to the next one. So for all of you out there, have a happy rest of your Sunday, and tune in next week for another episode of Gloves Off.